That water cooler doesn't have like bottle square, does it? Or does it? I mean, it must, right?
No, there's no nuts in
Somewhere.
here. We're good.
Yeah, I don't know where they're delivered to or from.
They seem to be using a Brita now, which means maybe they tested the water and we're good to go or something.
Oh,
They wouldn't be using a Brita if they didn't start using tap water.
there was no public notice that I'm aware of that they installed the devices they were hoping to
I didn't know
install.
that's why they went with it, because that's the quality of the water.
Yeah,
They had it tested in nitrates or something.
yeah.
I listened to Paul before coming here.
Mm-hmm.
He said some things I hadn't heard before. I can't remember what they were, but they were good.
Well, that's good.
You listen to somebody too
He
much.
doesn't always repeat himself. That's what you're saying.
No, he like comes with some new shit. I was laughing.
That's refreshing.
It is. So Francine, I only watched about a minute of that Ram Dass. And,
Oh, it was ridiculous.
I mean, and I can't believe they didn't cut out the first 13 minutes. It was
I know. I was going to say,
why
you
put
have
that
to
on
skip past
YouTube?
all the stoners making
Yeah, it was like,
like things in the camera.
moving
And
chairs
then-
around.
they were actually going up to the camera, just going. Like,
It was really dumb.
they're a bunch of
But-
stoners.
What were you getting out of that?
Oh, nothing. It was just for one comment. I don't know. I went on some weird because Pat posted the blue pancake guy to the lawyer group, and then I looked him up, like I watched that video, and then somehow I ended up on some Ram Dass, YouTube. Next thing you know, you're in fucking another world doing dumb shit for days.
Look up Ram Dass, Terrence McKenna, because they had
Yeah, I've
a
seen
meeting.
like
A meeting that was kind of interesting.
right.
It wasn't great. It was interesting.
Anyway, what was funny though, it was kind of this bizarre random progression of the three that I sent out was like the new agey, it was like obvious that guy, the blue pancake guy, is like a sorcerer, and he had Ram Dass confused, thinking he knew more than he did because he's still in the new agey, like everybody that. Like a sorcerer can dupe them so easily. They're like, oh, he must have something I don't have, and I just can't get down with it,
You think Ram Dass was thinking? Is that what you mean?
That's kind of the way they behaved, I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Or Ram Dass.
then the man of knowledge, Krishnamurti, is just like, yeah, no, fuck you. Take meditation and shove it up your ass.
Yeah, you ruined meditation forever for me. I used to actually kind of sit pretty, not religiously or anything, but I would sit for longer periods of time, and I sort of can't. Because that thought arrives, you're doing absolutely fucking nothing. Just start your day. I get up and shower for work. I used to be able to procrastinate really well from work that way. But I was doing something. Procrastinating from work.
Oh no, really the best quote, the most I can say that word.
Succinct.
Yeah, I just want to say suck.
Suck.
That's the most sucky quote.
There's that one liner from the Porch Talk. Just be a real loser.
Yeah.
I just keep saying that to myself and laughing. Just go ahead and be a real loser.
Well, that's the succinct quote.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. It's really good. Because there's this kind of thing that keeps popping up seemingly that's like wants to become, wants to do something, wants to be somebody. Just be a real loser.
So be
Oh,
an
okay.
ass. Be an ass, don't be a half-ass. I'm gonna score some hot water.
Well, it is kind of like the Superman thing in some way. Like, he walks around like a bumbling loser moron in human world, and he doesn't care because he knows he doesn't give a shit, you know?
It's hard to avoid pride of deliverance.
Of any kind of deliverance, I guess. Probably holds true.
Yeah. Let's see, I'll feign Dark Night of the Soul, then I'll go see some half-ass spiritual teacher, and they'll give me some advice, and then I'll pretend that I've had an enlightenment breakthrough. And then I'll use all the right language and write a book and put that on my website, and then I can count myself amongst the delivered.
Do you really think it's that conscious? I think it's just, actually, I don't know what it is, but I don't know if it's that conscious. I think there's people out there that really think they have it, whether they do or not.
I think there's a understanding of the duping somewhere in there. You know, it
Or
may not
you're just
be-
pointing out more the
the
geometry of
surface.
how it may occur rather than whether or not they think they're doing anything consciously or not consciously.
Yeah, it's just the,
Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we're
just,
reading-
it's the formula.
yeah.
You look at the formula that's reinforced by enlightened person interview shows. And, you know, the sentimentality of their life story and when they were a seeker and marvelous spiritual experiences and waves of despair and giving up and being too late to the game, having a catharsis or a breakthrough or something that sounds like a enlightened visitation of the soul. And then a life now lived spontaneously, abundantly, joyously, enviably by you fucking losers. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And the formula always reinforces the human, call it principles of the interviewer and the human now enviable lifestyle of the interviewee and the, you know, bump that your website or ministry is going to receive now that you've been invited to be interviewed on such and such a show.
I wonder if there's any way out. I mean, now I think we have a way out here.
Hmm.
But I mean, there's not many ways out. I mean, it seems backed out, so, I mean, that's like the word, you know, and just about anything that you tune in.
Yeah,
No refined sugar.
yeah.
That's great.
You know, deliverance, or the envying deliverance, someone else's deliverance, only becomes attractive by virtue of the ways in which one has imagined they have or are suffering.
Yeah.
Right? So we can't stand it anymore. We can't stand ourselves anymore. Our moods, our thoughts, our isolation, you know, the repetition of the way we think and feel about things. So it's me again. So it sounds like if, you know, Bart Marshall or Bart Simpson got enlightened through one or other efforts or non-efforts, that, golly gee, Batman, I'd really like that to happen to me too someday. Maybe I'll ring Bart up, see what I can do about it. So one remains, you know, duped, voluntarily, involuntarily, as if it matters. Duped.
It's a therapy game, really.
Duped by the presentation of mundane consciousness as it's experienced by me. We're duped by that. And that enlightenment or correcting our attitudes or not having thoughts or believing differently about things or applying ourselves diligently or radical Christian love will be the vehicles for me to suck less. And the big end of sucking, as meaning the permanent end of sucking, is, you know, my enlightenment experience.
Even the permanence is implying time. Yeah.
Well, that comes with, right? The creature somehow committed to time, imposed upon by time, wants resolution and revelation to appear in time and be reliable for the remainder of the, right? The biological sentence. Yeah. No more suffering for me. Har, har, har. I think what made Krishnamurti so radical and therefore indigestible or undigestible was his emphasis on steering away from processes and practices and knowledge to things to do, which clearly reinforces that sense of an individual being committed to do something about the banality of that individual. And so he was very capable, strangely so for that period, you know.
Yeah, really.
On the scale that he spoke, right? Yeah, it was a big scale. He was strangely capable of entraining his audience, large or small, by dismantling the nature of thought, the nature of becoming, the nature of time, the nature of pattern recognition, and therefore somnambulism. And inviting present wakefulness through the, you could say, cessation of liturgy, practices, and or destinations.
You know, I wonder how many people in his audiences were frantically taking notes, looking for the formula, figuring that they might, assuming they just couldn't quite grasp it, what he was saying.
It was very common amongst people that hung out with him to express a certain kind of frustration or confusion as to what he was getting at.
Because he never seemed to settle on an approach, you know, or
No.
anything like that.
No.
It was more the opposite, you know.
The emphasis that he made in that talk with Trungpa was absolute stillness of mind, which Trungpa began to question, but Krishnamurti wouldn't permit him to. What he was getting at was that as long as we're embroiled in rumination, universe creation, assignment, mood, sentimentality, right? Creating a storyline from presence. That's a mind that's in motion. That's a mind that's creating time, creating identity, restlessly considering itself, its insufficiencies, and the next novel thing it plans on doing about those insufficiencies, so it can be interviewed by Renata McNay someday. Yeah. So that was his emphasis, was stillness of mind. But again, he wasn't broadcasting how to get a still mind. And he was clearly dismissing the foolishness of all meditation processes and practices to try to cultivate still mind through, you know, a formulaic, repetitive kind of process or practice, like procrastinating before you go to work. Right?
Well, it makes a lot of sense. He emphasized a couple times, he kept saying, you know, if you're mimicking anything, you're just remaining locked in a pattern.
Yes.
That's very clear.
Yeah.
If you're mimicking, you're in a pattern.
Right. Yes.
And the suggestion was you want to get out of the patterns.
So the stillness of mind that he was referring to, if you were lucky to, you know, feel him, was the stillness of mind that he was able to, let's say, dwell in or project or invite the audience into through his somewhat lengthy monologues, which just turned out to be deconstruction, right? It was all of them were deconstruction monologues to leave you at, stillness of mind, quality of stillness of mind, so that one could feel, the audience could feel the vitality of their own intelligence, unconditioned intelligence.
You know, it seems that
That was the important
before
part. Because the more the taste you get of that, you let your consciousness somehow it likes it, it recognizes it, it keeps going back.
Oh, it does,
I
yes.
think that's the thing, though,
So
the
the
recognition.
The point is to get a glimpse underneath the words of it.
But there has to be the recognition, and I think you have to start to get really sick and tired of the same old crap.
Yes.
You know, before you start to recognize that it is crap.
Yes.
And that's not the way. And certainly if you had a lifetime experience of trying this and trying that and witnessing all these different things, then starting to see a pattern there, that's a big part of the whole ripening process, it seems to me.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
We were talking about that before you came in.
Yeah.
Folks that have it down and happy Disney World goers and vacationers, they're not interested in this shit. They think they got it they got it. Yeah.
Krishnamurti had, by that time that he was talking with Trungpa,
Yeah.
had already developed quite a reliable skill at going through the deconstruction process, free associating, because he was quite capable, going through a deconstruction process of whatever was poignant for that conversation,
Right.
and then sliding into home plate,
Yeah.
right? Sliding into that stillness. And during that particular conversation, when Krishnamurti was kind of emphasizing absolute stillness of mind, Trungpa being a Dzogchen wise guy, to his credit, was just about and did question Krishnamurti that this thing that you're referring to as stillness of mind is, again, a fallacy. It's not necessary, right? Because in the Dzogchen thing, the bright is the bright is the bright, and there's no condition that need be met prior to the recognition of the bright being the bright being the bright. And so Trungpa offered that, lunge, but Krishnamurti would not entertain it. And so, in a sense, Krishnamurti was monologuing, and he could have, maybe the two of them could have gotten some really interesting mileage out of the nature of, a present inquiry.
Yeah.
But Krishnamurti would not, and he was, a bully that way in his own right, because he was, so good at it for the number of years he was good at it.
Yeah.
He was not going to be derailed from his winning strategy, even in the company of, Trungpa, that he may or may not have respected. You don't really know. So Trungpa couldn't get any purchase on him to go into something that might have really been kind of fascinating, to see these two minds examined, from a Dzogchen and from whatever you'd call Krishnamurti's approach, which was also kind of a startlement non-dual approach, to see where they might have gone with it.
Well, and
Never took off.
Well, the stillness of mind, as soon as you pin it down and give a description to it, then it kind of loses its impact.
Well, that's just it. I mean, this objectifies too fast for us to outwit it.
Yeah.
You can't use mind, which is already the product of objectification, to outwit the miracle of objectification.
Yeah.
That's the big dilemma from a contemplative point of view, right? Yeah, you're like, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, nah, it's not fucking working. Let's see.
Yeah.
You can't.
Is this it?
Yeah, you're already a product of profound and impersonal waves of objectification, thinking then you can apply yourself as an agent or as a clever being to outwit that geometry. You're not gonna.
It's so counter everything. I mean, it's so counter our experience and our upbringing, our education and culture.
Yes.
Our inclinations, our psychological makeup, and everything else.
Yeah.
Yep. To not come up with a structure or a scenario or a
Yes.
lead-in or
Right. Stake a claim.
Yeah. There you go. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's also what makes it so difficult for so many people to stay with something,
Yes.
I mean, and like I say, I don't know, but I'm just guessing that a huge percentage of the Krishnamurti following
Yeah.
were by people that were trying to figure it out, trying to nail it down, trying to understand. They knew he was saying something and they were determined to figure out what it was, but
It appears that Wayne Lickerman may be more successful at having enlightened students than Krishnamurti was.
Oh, I wonder.
And in this business, conversion is what it's all about. Conversion is what it's all about. Why was everyone flocking to look now to see Papaji? Because they were imagining that some kind of wave or, dam burst of conversions were going on.
Yeah.
That was Gangaji's guru, wasn't he?
Gangaji and Andrew Cohen and a handful of others. Yeah. Right.
But, I think, the Krishnamurti phenomenon, I mean, a lot of it was because of this whole upper crust approach. So, going to California, and that was sort of the cool thing to do, to hang with somebody
Still
like
is.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Theosophists were, they were funded by, wealthy European and Indian culture.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of dough rolling around in those high society circles where Krishnamurti would speak.
But, it's interesting. People that I feel like have really sort of touched down and didn't try to get their message out, so to speak, in the same way and to formalize it. And I of course, Nisargadatta I think of, and Ramana Maharshi. It seemed to work in an Indian culture, maybe because they're just more open to that, the idea of just sort of discarding everything. But it seems like in an American, in the Western setting, it's like there has to be some building block. And I think Krishnamurti made it because of the coolness factor and because people just thought they were missing it. They had to stay with it long enough to figure it out. But I don't know that the likes of the Indian guys would have ever been able to make it at all, if they were somehow an American equivalent, I don't, that's all conjecture.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know what's going on right now. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
That's cool.
we're playing around with the sociological impact
I
of.
know, I tend to do
Staring at the
that.
popcorn.
Well,
Trying to wait as long as I can before I have my mother Aussie bite.
oh, is that why you're just talking and talking and talking?
Yeah, just an excuse.
Obsessed with Aussie bites.
Uh-huh. It's a delay strategy before you have another treat.
Clearly, this can't be done with the head. Doesn't work. You can watch your head just kind of go in circles. The mind is not the key for this story.
Well, the mind is accustomed to a certain kind of dopamine experience that it might refer to as some kind of satisfaction, right?
That is what I was thinking. I thought Krishnamurti was referring to stillness of mind. This is how I interpreted what he was saying,
Mm-hmm.
as getting outside of mind.
Yes.
That's how I interpreted it.
Yes.
So I didn't think he was creating another formula. I thought he was saying the same thing. Feel this.
Yes.
Get outside.
Yes.
You can't remain in this loop, in this pattern
Yes.
of doing shit, meditating,
Mhm.
whatever, so you can get somewhere. Deliverance
Yep.
pattern.
Yep.
Becoming all
Mhm.
wrapped up in a make-believe bullshit thing that the mind is constantly churning out. So
Yeah.
you just call it shit and then move,
Mhm.
go other places.
That's why he spent the amount of time he spent on very skillful and cogent, articulate dismantling of, the movement of thought, the movement of mind, the movement of pattern, the movement of, psychiatric and psycho-emotional association. So he spent a lot of time deconstructing that by referring to, the species and geopolitical things and financial things and sorrow and grief and all this cool stuff that people enjoy.
Well, it seems to be all sort of nitty-nitty, isn't it? Because it's like you can't really describe it. You can't say, it is this. All you can say is, not this, not that, really, in many various forms.
Yeah. Well, even not this, not that.
That's not even.
Well, where?
right either.
Yeah, sometimes it can work, someone can be sitting, on a corner somewhere and do a little netty, either because they've studied it or because it just comes to mind and wake up because They were supposed to wake up instead of being hit by a bus. Someone else could do neti in a cave for more years than we would care to count and get neti, baby. Yeah. You're like, what the, it's kind of delightfully infuriating that there's just no causal linearity or circumstantial outcome of applying yourself in a certain way diligently over decades with fantastic earnestness and sincerity that is going to result in anything at all.
It's Govinda and Siddhartha, It's like Siddhartha sort of came through in the end. It's almost like one of these deals, like a study. I mean, I don't know. I know it's fiction, but it plays a good point there.
Sure.
It's kind of like the person can't manipulate this. It's not possible.
No, because the person's already embroiled in as an in symptom. Yeah.
And if that's
The
kind of all you
idea-
have to work with, that's what you're going to go back to.
Yes.
Approach
Right.
doing something.
You can go back to, let's just call it the naked constituents of conscious contact.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Without story.
Yeah.
And if you're, you play with it for a while and you're, let's say, in good company, right? Experienced company. Then conscious contact isn't telling a story. And yet you are on the receiving end of this aliveness, this something or other. And if we learn how to soften that reflex to inhabit conscious contact from the vantage point of gossip, right? Because every story that you tell yourself, everything you got going on, for as long as you've had it going on, is gossip. You're gossiping to yourself as you could say, an organic consequence of conscious contact, the naked constituents of conscious contact. Call it consciousness, call it being. I mean, it doesn't matter. And so this is presenting, and whatever we call the neocortex, which just it really could be made up. I mean, you can open someone's skull and see a brain and put probes on it and talk about, its things and electrostimulate. And you could say, yeah, the neocortex is where the thought factory is, because you're not creating stories of unsatisfactoriness in the hindbrain. Okay, all right, fine. No, thank you, Gary. And so this engine of association, of gossip, is running nonstop, outside of the influence of your will, outside of the influence of your preferences.
Seems to have a large power to make you miserable if you're investigating it.
Okay, so we can look at let's call them common consequences of being so beguiled by the otherwise impersonal presentation of conscious contact having turned into gossip. Now you're fucked.
All day long.
All fucking day long.
Me.
Yeah.
It's neurosis.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I mean, depending on where you want to take it, conformist reality is psychotic. Neurotic is friendly. That's a euphemism. No, it's psychotic. So if we can, again, without resorting to, explanation or Genesis or gods in the sky or ascended masters, in your enema bag. that come and visit you when you cleanse your bowels.
I need those.
Yeah.
Mm,
Then you have what's present. But there's no explanation for what's present. There's no tautology for what's present. There's no explanation or description, cosmically or otherwise, for what's present or that presence is so. That conscious contact is happening. Conscious contact is happening. And the reflex to gossip about it, again, is not happening because you choose or don't choose. And the content that appears in this field of gossip that you experience in your own so-called bubble, again, is kind of what? Designed by whom? Created how? Through conditioning, through DNA, through ancestry, through the Akashic record, through karmic and dharmic consequences, through, take Oprah Winfrey and Friends, lessons that we need to learn in the Earth School. Oh, sorry, Oprah. I just belched in your sneakers, but these metaphors are, the New Age landscape, right, is what's the word? Overflowing with these kinds of metaphors for what the fuck is this and what are we supposed to do with it?
And there's this constant need for closure. And so this whole
closure, yeah.
This becoming thing and striking a new catchphrase and one that you hear all the time is there's a reason for everything,
Sure.
Fire.
Sure.
You lost a child or the fire happened, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. God wants you to learn a lesson.
Well, even, I was listening to these two interviews today. Don't ask me why. Maybe because it was raining and I felt like I deserved to suffer.
That's probably it.
This was, Beth brought it to my attention. It was the Bart Marshall and Deborah Westmoreland, Enlightenment team being interviewed, in the UK by the McNays, Conscious TV. Whew, man, what a circle jerk. But, you can see that language going where the divine, the anthropomorphized divine, has a plan for you. And you're like, what's that going to cost me?
I feel like somehow that's like subtle marketing. I don't know why. It's just marketing.
Oh, it's pernicious. Yeah.
Funny. Come up with a tagline.
Yeah, the divine has a plan for you. And again, you can see
it's easy to say. Nobody's going to prove it.
Well, yeah, really, what can you say about it? Yeah.
Words like that are cheap.
Right.
Cheap, easy, and catchy.
Yeah.
Cheap till you gotta sign up for the program.
Yeah. And, so we can do enlightenment intensives.
Just be a real loser.
Oof, yeah. Man. It's very difficult, challenging, let's say, to see if you can move away from the hysteria of, for sure, conformist reality, but also the patina of enlightenment speak. The patina of, the non-dualists or those that have been delivered, and the interviewers, and the consequences of it, and the programs and the solutions that are offered to ameliorate your angst for usually, a good piece of change. And there's so much biographical pablum. We carry the inertia of this biographical pablum with us, which is part of the gossip machine, right? That's how you could say we have become familiar with ourselves. The way we think, the way we feel, the way we process shit. Our little spiritual breakthroughs and how we tuck them away like a squirrel with nuts. So we've run out of the wild capacity for present improvisational living or present improvisational being, because we've listened to so much of this shit for so long that now it's all monkey see, monkey do. And the way that these interviews and, bodies of teachings are languaged continue to reinforce you as a creature in a gossip field. Becoming is very convenient for what some might refer to as, the ego to self-entrap. Because we're so oriented to, so you could say superficial loyalties to the way I feel, the way I think, the way I look, how I'm processing my present experience, whether my future is going to be secure. Right? So this profound wave after wave after wave, iteration after iteration of self-assessment and security seeking within a field of gossip that we hate.
It's totally like bizarre, abstract insanity. You're just making shit up.
You're fucking dreaming in situ. You're just making shit up moment after moment after moment. And then, and you're so,
for no reason at all.
You're torturing yourself for no reason at all. Yes. And you're so exhausted that you don't have the energy to break out of it. So you just throw up your hands and go with it.
Go get another beer.
Yeah, really. Like, oh, fuck. This just won't quit. Fuck. I'll have another. Yeah. Set me up. Yeah. With a shooter and whatever. And then we place ourselves, again, we reify or reify, depending on how you like that word, so instantaneously, which is that movement of turning conscious contact into a story. Presuming that conscious contact and therefore has a duration and durability. Then we're just sick. I mean, somatically sick, if not psychologically and emotionally sick with time. We become literally sick with or sick from time.
The whole thing seems to me to be, and it's funny because outside of here, anybody else would think this is crazy talk, but it seems to me that
I think it's crazy too.
Yeah, well, you probably would. It's a
I'm hoping it is.
Embracing brainlessness. You know what I mean? It's like everything about the brain, the human brain that creates time out of nothingness.
Yeah.
That creates story.
Yeah.
And all of that. It's just sort of being chill with it, just like stepping back from it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to have its own inertia. And it's going to roll along.
Yeah.
But not clinging on to that, letting it go. And the brain, it just seems like it's like going to do what it's going to do. And especially, like I was saying before,
yes,
if you have certain roles to play, kind of demanding, then, you in the back there, it's somewhere where it's like, this is stupid and all that jazz, but it doesn't matter. You got to finish what you're doing. But it's all brain chatter. And I mean, I really see it as sort of a physicality, this brain pumping out electrical power all over the place, and thoughts arising, and the old thoughts, and
Mhm.
and it's like, hey, the brain's going to do what the brain's going to do, and that's sort of almost, in a way, it's not my business.
Well, yes. You could say over the arc of a discovery process, let's say we make peace to the best we can, We make certain kind of peace with all of this functionality that we thought prior we were either controlling, or it was controlling us, or that this, this kind of painful oddsness that we suffer all the time, right? The nomenclature of self. So yeah, you can come to certain kind of relaxation points, lily pads along the way, where you cut yourself a little slack, cut yourself a break. And then you will discover whether there's still remaining a sense of self as, conduit, as center, as actor in the midst of conscious contact. The enlightenment nomenclature that you hear from those that have been delivered is in their own language, the clumsy or articulate way that they're able to, speak it out is, let's use the metaphor, the collapse of duality, or the collapse of a separate self being at the center of, conscious contact, right? That's a pretty reliable, if you were doing a book report, and you read a bunch of this shit, not because you were an avid seeker trying to get over your mother issues, but
you wanted a good grade.
Just you're getting a good grade. You go, holy fuck! I read all these books, and to a man, to a woman, right, to a Mahatma, there's this theme that I find through this, discovery of enlightenment stories, enlightenment biographies, which is the cessation of doership, the cessation of a separate self. Nothing, or in Gary Weber's case, the absence of thoughts. Nothing is processing. Present experience, which gives rise to the sense of an individual, that you are an individual inhabiting your body. That goes.
And there's certain people that have this condition, evidently, where they don't have a sense of self. They don't have this sense of a body self.
You mean like people in institutions?
Yeah, I mean people that have
that are
some brain malfunction.
That are interviewed by psychiatrists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But they don't. They report at least.
Yeah, they can't
they're
report
not-
when Jeff's around because
but they're
they're
not-
covered.
They're not reporting it as if it's a spiritual thing. They're just sort of. I mean, from what.
Yeah.
I read something about a while ago. Can't remember too well. But
Could be some clever enlightened folks who are hanging out in a mental institution getting, 3 hots and a cot.
But it seems like they're just missing some connection.
It could be that. I mean, brain.
That's all this deconstruction thing. That's all like letting the brain go, I mean, they were wired that way, I guess.
Okay. I mean, I don't, if you find one, invite them in, with their attending psychiatrist, and we'll talk it through and see how they're feeling about
Surgery is
shit.
the answer,
Surgery for some is the answer. Yeah. Part of the dilemma, or a lot of the dilemma, is the confidence, you could say the unconscious, naive confidence that we place in conscious contact, suggesting I, me, my, in a body, apart from the whole, as a discrete operating or experiential unit. That's the self, the lowercase self, right? The agony of separation. the agony of temporality, the agony of at-riskness, the awkwardness of this extraordinary loneliness that we have. And a way to mitigate it is usually through one or a million forms of exploitation. And that's why the species is going to shit. Because the common way that we medicate our existential irritability is through exploitation. And that's what Krishnamurti spoke about eloquently, unceasingly, untiringly for, I don't know, 50, 60 years of his life, from the time he was in his 30s or even late 20s to when he died at 90 or 91 years old.
Well, most normal.
Did it? It didn't. The exploitation has only gotten, more demonic.
Worse.
Yeah.
Even just normal social interactions
That
are
didn't
by
work.
definition exploitive.
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
And when you see it in yourself and then you experience it so frequently in others, it's
Yeah.
really hard to just
Yeah.
like commit to quote normal social behavior. It's like,
Oh, yes.
fuck it, I'm not interested.
Oh, I know. That's right. I mean, to go ahimsa is to withdraw from exploitation. And boy, that can kick the shit out of you, right? In the context of conformist reality.
Yeah.
Relations with siblings, relations with parents, relations with partner, relations with bank clerk, relations with, those fuckers at Comcast that ruin everything.
Yeah, they're trying.
I know they're trying. No, they're turning over a new leaf. This is the pain of it. You see, you start getting unplugged from the repetition of your own failed system. You just can't stand the exploitation anymore. It's a heartbreak. It's a big heartbreak, which is kind of great. I mean, it's a grace of some kind. You could call it a dark night of the soul, depending on how, dramatic you are. I mean, I don't know. It could be a dark night of the soul could be a 2-second, like, oh, I'm good. Let's get on with this. Or it can be months and years and everything goes south and it's like, oh, yeah. So
When it happens every night, it's a
It gets old
different term for it.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
it is.
I know. Yeah. Right.
A lot of it's like giving up the hope that, yeah, I'm going to play that game. I'm going to finally I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be a real
I know.
loser.
Yeah. Like I always thought, well, I'll just someday get in. I can do that. I can just move fast. It's like when the game is really up when you realize you don't want to, and that's why you're not doing it. You never have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you're just
That's
not.
why you're not really even a loser, so it's just funny.
Yeah.
We're given a particular affinity, and you can't necessarily pick that affinity.
Yeah.
And I have an affinity for this, apparently. Much more so than that.
There's, as one withdraws from exploitation, just, through an organic process of living and learning and hanging out and stumbling into weird fucking conversations that make pretty much no sense to anybody. Let's just say your interest in the world or winning in the world necessarily loosens and softens.
It doesn't seem to make as much sense even, like winning. It's like you get a taste of what this really is, and that becomes winning, and that keeps becoming winning. But there does seem to be a back and forth where you kind of want to go back. You're like, no, I can do this again. I can take this winning into that winning and combine that. You know what I mean? It gets a little weird.
Everyone's a chef.
Yeah. You want to cook it up somehow. We'll just combine those two.
This has to serve me in the real world somehow.
Yeah.
I need some
okay,
payoff.
just 10% of that and 90% of this until,
Yeah.
it just seems to kind of be that way. And
Yes.
you kind of see like, no, this is winning. The felt sense of what this is totally winning, off the charts winning.
Yeah.
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 So much better and more winning. So it's like, whatever,
So I don't hear winning anymore. I hear winning.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know, you're really fucked when like favorite ways of sort of running and exploiting don't work anymore. It's like you try, you go there,
You can't get any mileage.
it just, you
Out
can't
of
get it
it.
up, you know? It's like,
Yeah,
I
that's
went
right.
to DSW Shoe Warehouse, it just didn't,
Yeah,
I'm like, let me out of this dark
Yeah,
corner.
get me out of
trying to
here.
shoot
Yeah, yeah.
this. So I just walked around the mall, looked around, then I went to Costco and bought
yeah,
food.
right. I
But-
thought I might have a shopping but it just didn't go my
I
way.
just didn't.
Well, this is more orgasmic. That's what becomes
Yeah.
the truth. And so you keep going back to this. You're like, this
Uh-huh.
orgasm's way better. I'm just gonna keep going there. You know?
I think so. It
You're like,
turns out to be where's the best O.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a dopamine thing. Where's the best O? Let's see. DSW? Not today, no.
Really.
Well, I've said it before, that our Chrome comic where the woman's, the guy's looking out the window and the woman's looking at the TV or something. And she says, should I change the channel? And he goes, why bother? You know, it's like-
Yep.
It's just all gonna suck
that's
anyway.
the way it seems to be in so many things, whether it's DSW or whatever.
Yes.
It's like, whatever.
We're magical. We feed on novelty and puzzle solving and what's unpredictable. That's how we're built, you could say. That's how we thrive.
Mm.
Novelty, unpredictability, elasticity, problem or puzzle solving. That really, right, opens up the gates of serotonin and dopamine and thrill and frees us from the banality of exploitation and frees us from the banality of security seeking.
It's funny because the other day I was walking and I had this puzzle analogy going on. It was kind of ridiculous. It was very long and drawn out. It was on a long walk, but it was sort of that. But I felt like the analogy was more like, it's like you get stuck in one puzzle. Like we think we're in just one puzzle and then we just keep taking it apart,
Yeah,
putting it back together and then we're like frustrated because that's really boring to be doing the same puzzle
Mhm.
yeah,
over and over and over. And you can't get anywhere. It's just rearranged. And you're like, that didn't work. And then you take it apart again.
right.
It seems like this process is kind of like just realizing like there's other there's other modes where you can do that same thing in some way in an expanded manner besides get that same puzzle that you just keep taking apart. Putting
Yes.
together.
Yeah,
And then you can come back to that if you want, but it's all just the fun of, like a giant jigsaw game puzzle. I don't know.
yeah. Silence of being. Doesn't have to be accompanied by absence of thoughts. You can't turn the volume down on conscious contact. Maybe with heroin. For a time.
Ludes.
Yeah. So it's,
Well, it wakes up with a vengeance when you end up with the hangover.
Yeah, I don't think it really does necessarily because you sleep and that's conscious content. You're just
Yeah.
not really, I mean, right? It's,
yeah, unless it shuts down your autonomic nervous system and they find you dead in the morning.
yeah,
That's the heroin win.
that's the heroin.
Yeah, really. I took this fucker out.
Till you just pop into another universe and you're like,
Yeah, you see, it's like, yeah, no, we're just going to keep bothering you with shit.
yeah. I get heroin in this universe.
What's the heroin equivalent?
Yeah, really. Hello, knock, knock. What's the heroin equivalent in your universe? Oh, please come in.
If you're a baby, oh, can my mom do heroin? And then breastfeed me?
Yep,
Yes.
it can go that way. It's gruesome.
Is there nothing sacred here? No.
When we're in, a certain kind of, let's call it spiritual fixity, the habit is to get relief from a thing or add to my experience as some form of amelioration. That's the reflex. That's the exploitation. And we do this on a very intimate scale within ourselves or with each other, or on a grand scale if you happen to be, a player in the military, industrial, banking, 1% cartel, right, or employed by them, like we all are. Yeah. Right. So the remedy fuck.
Remedy.
Well, see, once you articulate a thing, right, you've already created a boundary field in which you are appearing or operating, and then the myth that you can or should apply yourself in a certain way for whatever, spiritual succor or enlightenment, if you're, to infinity and beyond, if you're that kind of guy or gal. What if there's a back door? What if there's like a secret, silly password way behind 1,000 years of encryption? Because as long as we process this weirdness through 1,000, if not 10,000, if not 100,000 years of encryption, then we just keep ending up in that sorrow field of exploitation and pride, hubris and pride and exploitation. Because we can't crack the encryption.
You're in the same pattern, or like the same little puzzle, or like
Yep.
if you're thinking of a fractal, you're just in one tiny little bit of the fractal, but you
Yep.
can actually move about the whole fractal, not just this one little piece.
Yeah.
I have this image of IKEA. In IKEA, you're like a rat in a maze. You you're just following the path of the crowd, going through everything in you.
The only way to get back to your car is through the cash register and the chocolate.
Yeah, that's right. But really, you're only
I haven't been to IKEA in a long time. I'm like,
You're only a
no.
few feet away from the exit path. You just have to know where it is.
That's
You
right.
have to be able to look from above. Or
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever.
That's right. Yeah, you can't go
The
through,
employees know how to do it.
you can't go through the encryption field. Somehow you have to feel your way to check this out and see whether it's actually been successful at imposing all of this gossip upon you or not. While we experience the gossip field as real, then we're locked out behind the encryption field. It turns out being, whatever that is, has a signature. Present experience has a curious, irrefutable signature.
it's always here, but it's pretty easy to not like focus on it. Like your attention can be in lots of different directions, but when it's suggested that you say, you know, just by you bringing it up, it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. That's the password. That's the idiot password that goes through the back door.
It's easy to miss because it's so always here and feels so much just normal.
Yeah, we have habituated to, let's say, the primary miracle and got stuck by the inorganic beings within a field of gossip. And therefore we writhe in unsatisfactoriness and exploitation for pretty much the whole trip, with an occasional trip to Costco or DSW or, you know, something like that. We find our way back, not that we ever left it, we just were, you could say, you know, confused, right? Being takes itself for granted, and then attention or awareness, instead of abiding in itself, gets snookered into a gossip field. You know, maybe that's what Krishnamurti was referring to as stillness of mind, is withdrawing from the entanglement with the gossip field, right? With space, time, and implication, with exploitation and becoming, and just chills back. You don't have to make a claim, stake a claim, be smarter than the next enlightened bozo. You don't have to become biographical. Because no one really gives a shit about what happened to you. They only give a shit about what's happening or happened to them. So why go all biographical on it? I mean, it's a real cheap thrill.
It's just for you, yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I remember sitting on a swing and then then I ran into a person and then I found myself in India, you know, in a rice paddy village with cobras and hyenas and monkeys, strange people wearing orange clothing, burning weird smelling fires, and I always thought someday I want to be just like this. Not. I'm sorry. Can someone take me to the airport? Really nice meeting all you folks. Yeah.
There's groups that get together, like I've been thinking of the dream group that happens back at the Friends. I have never gone to it, but I can imagine it's because I've heard some of the people, and I think it's very much that. It's trying to get in touch with their past lives, future lives, or whatever the hell.
All of which is just, you know, more fanciful distraction in the gossip field.
You can find lots of that. It's a dime a dozen.
That, you know, what? That's all. That's all you can find.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you can find. It's weird.
Yeah.
It seems just like this is a very simplified version of it, obviously, but it does seem like just a societal construct, gossip field, and everyone just stays in that little, like if you were just partitioning out a landscape or something, and someone suggested one spot was really important, and everyone was like, oh yeah, and started clamoring around it, and then seemingly they just got stuck there.
It's like that video game, To Build a Zoo.
To build a zoo.
Zoo Tycoon. That's what we have.
What is this? You build a zoo?
Yeah, Zoo Tycoon. But there are other ones
This
that are
on
even
PlayStation?
bigger than that. Like you become God. I mean, there are games where you create civilization. Fuck
Yeah.
the zoo.
All
Right.
the Sims stuff.
Yeah, all the Sim stuff. Right. Yeah. So that's what we have here. Build a zoo. Zoo Tycoon. The whole fucking planet. It's just Zoo Tycoon.
I like Gangaji's description or reference to it as the cult of society.
Yeah.
You know, this is a pretty strong cult.
Yeah.
War is bad.
Apparently not.
Helping others is good. Recycling is good. You know?
I think
Do yoga so that you can kiss your ass goodbye.
without too much
Reach
pain.
it while you're getting older.
Master, why should we do yoga? So you can kiss your ass goodbye. Get out. Huh. Any kind of salve so easily becomes another object, something to cling to, something to defend. Any kind of salve.
Well, yeah, even if you turn the society thing into like whatever that Gangaji thing I was just getting, then that's like there's like society and then there's like some other
Yeah.
like you've created another
Hmm. Yes, you have. Look at the culture of enlightened beings, the proliferation of enlightened beings in the so-called West. You know, through the, you know, great experiment of the democratizing internet. And that's the answer. The answer to the ills of society, the cult of society has become the cult of the enlightened. I mean, I can't wait to go to Newman's next, you know, kirtan. Newman.
well, or it was the cult of you know, hippies and drug. Like there's always some
Yes.
it's a counterculture. It's counter. It's all counter to something that you've already assumed
Yeah,
is relevant. You've turned it into an idea, and now you have a counterculture.
that's right.
Oh, great! Another fucking counter to another. They're all
Well-
counters to another counter.
I mean, yeah, when you look at
It's like
Krishnamurti's whole thing, or Terence McKenna's thing, or Ram Dass's thing, or Neem Karoli Baba's thing, or Ramakrishna's thing, or Nirasagadatta's thing, what we have are these, you know, kind of little pockets of counterculture.
yeah.
And that seems to persist, you know, and been obviously successfully mercantilized by Byron Katie and Adyashanti and other big name gurus that are just fucking rolling in green and helping tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people through social media and webcasts and multi-level marketing schemes where they enlighten or they certify other people, right? And that's the counterculture. That's the fucking counterculture.
Totally
Is going to an Adyashanti retreat. Fucking put a needle in my eye.
I forget where. Yeah.
That's
They've
it.
Just taken. They've totally just taken that system and redesigned it.
Yes.
basically. They
Yeah.
took the first system and redesigned it and called it.
That's right. Basically, they're
That's what I mean
saying
about that thing in that puzzle. You just keep taking
it's
it apart.
all
and
entrepreneurship.
You put it together and it looks different, but it's the same fucking
It's
puzzle.
the same.
The
It's
same
all.
pieces.
It's all
They're different.
entrepreneurship. It's like, you know, fuck you. I don't like the way you make money. I'm going to make money this way. That's the
And I'm still gonna
counterculture.
remain in the
Byron
game.
Katie's the counterculture.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Oprah Winfrey's the counterculture. I don't think so.
She's the worst. That lady.
I remember her fabulous at 50 thing.
Oh God, she's the worst. That's just all about money and marketing and success. And
It's about time you tried one of these.
Well, I ate too much pizza there earlier. so-
Ooh, the pizza sounds good. I mean, Bat Gap and Conscious TV, that's the counterculture. The East Bay Open Circle, that's the counterculture.
I was thinking about the dude I met there. He was really fried. I think he was actually fried on seeing too many spiritual teachers.
It can
Like
happen.
he had that aura of somebody that like maybe did too many drugs, but it might have been
Who's
just he
this?
did one too many spiritual teachers.
Yeah.
Talking about-
Do I have
Just
that
some
aura?
guy, just some guy that I met in California
Oh.
when I was out at the Open Secret.
We have matching auras, me and that guy.
Yeah, I mean, this cool fellow from Europe, what's his name? Boran
Way back
Oakland or
then.
something. He wrote this cool book, more or less dismantling reality. You know, very much you could say in the same vein that Peter Brown likes to articulate the yoga of radiant presence.
I mean, incomprehensibly.
Yeah, yes, incomprehensibly. Dismantling what conformist reality is, you know, through the physicist's eyes and these eyes and these eyes. And I mean, really, you know, woof, taking it down. And then he has a Facebook group, which is by kind of invitation, you know, can I join? I really like this stuff.
I relate to you guys.
You know, then they let you in.
Oh God, it's by invitation.
Yeah,
I don't want just any.
it's it's a private Facebook group club dedicated to, I guess, his teachings and or discussions of this book and the implications of it.
All right, I'll try to be open-minded.
Go ahead. And then you see everyone has forgotten about the truth and they're just discussing the book.
That's what you get when there's something by invitation. You have to be
And
invited.
fucking.
Yeah.
And then, you know, comments about
Club.
I don't know,
Yeah. Did they get a ring?
the rhythms of their enlightenment woes, their pre and post enlightenment woes. Wait, the
Well, they're-
reason of the book was to flatline.
Well, is the author part of this group? Is he the leader of this group, or is this,
He's there. He comments on people's questions and things.
see? It seems to me the leaders, if you want to call them, you know, they come up with this inspired way of presenting something,
Yeah,
and then before they know
ask
it,
four questions to turn it
they're
around.
sucked back into this whirlwind
Yeah.
of attention. I mean, I think of Eckhart Tolle, of course.
There you go. Eckhart Tolle. He's the counterculture. Eckhart Tolle.
That's one of the best examples, or Jesus, you know, and
Well, he was for a short time, but they took care of that.
any number that they, you know, all of a sudden, boom, there's this structure built around it.
That's right.
Well, people are just on the lookout, seemingly, for anything they can turn into a secret club that they can then turn into a gossip field that only they're like they're cool and they
It's-
understand this book and
It's Zoot
that's
Tycoon.
what they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And see, the focus becomes
you'd think that the teacher would
once
be in there
again on the
kicking their ass, but-
materiality of the so-called teaching. So it becomes a field of agreement and disagreement and discovery and what would so-and-so say and what would so-and-so say. And it's like, you see, the gossip field is taken over again. The gossip field jumps right in. There was a joke Krishnamurti used to tell, you know. We've shared it a few times. It's silly, but you know, someone runs to Beelzebub and says, you know, Master, they've got a new religion on earth. You know, that could be the end of, you know, our reign of darkness. He says, don't worry, I'll help them organize it.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And so we see the gossip field, the reflex for objectification and materialization to come in all the time inexhaustibly. No matter what you got going on, it's going to sneak up on you. And while you're off being proud for a moment, bam, it's got you, and it's going to organize you. Yeah.
Organized, repackaged.
And even in a, you know, I would say kind of a useful, provocative work that dismantles the way that we process reality, the outcome of that, if you take it all the way home, is chocolate milk, anyone? Nothing at all. But obviously the discussion group, again, right, fetishizes the whole body of work, and you lose the release. You lose the release.
I have to check this dismantling reality, right?
Beth is a member of the group, so if I don't get it right,
Got in?
you can email her and she'll tell you. I did email him after I saw a little
like
video or
today.
something, and I asked him if he would be willing to like Skype with the Night Sky Sangha. He said, "I'll pass."
I remember that.
I'm like, but we need you. I'll pass.
Your reputation has gotten around.
I don't have a reputation. How could I possibly have a reputation? What? Gary Weber said to his wife, "That fucking asshole, that's my reputation."
Well, now probably that old song over there. Who knows?
Well, that's okay. Who knows? I didn't include Dale in any of that repartee. I mean, you give, as a compassionate act, and I'm not saying I'm compassionate, and I'm not, but as a compassionate act, you interface with someone. Let's say you're a little released from exploitation, so you're a little more playful, you're a little more impish, because you're not stuck in an exploitive relationship either internally or with somebody else. So let's say you nudge someone a little bit, and you kind of give them the opportunity to tell the truth, just to see whether they're still defended, what they got going on, what they're clinging to, holding on to, how they're compromising their own freedom and or the freedom of their students because they got a package going on. So you interface a little bit, and you nudge them a little bit, and you challenge them a little bit, because you can sniff that shit out. And you give someone an opportunity, you create an opportunity to make a friend where someone can tell the truth about, anything that might still be binding upon them. And it's okay if it's binding, but there's a certain kind of release that can occur if you can just be fucking, I don't know, honest about it. No, I'm afraid because of this, or I'm intimidated because of that, or I don't trust this. Just to say something that might be true about how you're feeling about a situation, instead of hiding behind all kinds of hyperbole and lame excuses, which just keeps you, in that field of exploitation, because you just can't come clean.
Well, there's still fear at the bottom of it all.
There you go. There is. There's fear at the bottom of it all. There's reputation at the bottom of it all. There's being recognized and or applauded as an enlightened person, being capable of helping other people to become enlightened or to help them with their PTSD or other disagreements in life.
I think the other thing is language. We speak in whatever colorful way we choose to speak, but it just seems like the bulk of society is pretty guarded, and there's certain things you just wouldn't say, or it'll be automatically construed as a hit job,
Yeah. Well, sure.
And so,
conformist reality by its nature is guarded. It has to be.
It's pretty fucking boring.
Isn't it?
We had this big rapping thing at work for this, charity thing at work, and I'm standing there next to a guy that's in sort of upper management rapping some stuff, and I'm like, hey, if your wife starts handing you packages with the, your name and then 4G on it, you better really wonder where she's getting her stuff from, right?
Yeah.
No acknowledgement, and I tossed out a couple zingers. Nothing.
Yeah.
I finished rapping and went away.
I know.
It was just fucking boring.
Nobody really wants to be touched by life.
Just gentle off-color comments didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. You couldn't get a party going.
They just look at you like.
Yeah, you just get a blank stare, and then the next thing comes. So how about that golf game?
Yeah.
Well, everyone is so.
I love off-color.
Everyone is so intimacy disordered,
Yeah.
and so guarded, and even though, so-called human to human, there's a huge amount of energy and a huge amount of playfulness
Yeah.
and a huge amount of, sensuality that doesn't have to be consummated, but,
It is.
because that could be really tiring. But I mean, dolphins, they just fuck each other all day and all night, and they don't care who they're getting entangled with. Could be a man with a man or a woman with a woman. I mean, they're just like, yeah, let's do this. Let's eat some fish and fool around. But we don't do that. But we're built the same way. Really, let's eat some fish and fool around. So in order to be, have a so-called reliable social order, we have to repress and suppress our natural,
Yeah.
effusive, playful, dopamine natures. And that, as you can see, as that suppression occurs amongst the human scale, then it just turns into exploitation. Yeah. Or it, it's out of hand, and the amount of, non-consenting, right, violence is epidemic.
That's
Right.
where, I'm sort of an outlet for I've been exploited for too long.
Non-consenting, activity is epidemic in the, across the whole species. It's not just the Catholic Church that has a lock on that shit.
Any of the religions,
So we're strange. I mean, we are absolutely ecstatic by nature, playful and crazed and improvisational, solving puzzles, fooling around, having the next piece of fish. That's where we actually thrive. But fortunately or unfortunately, within the context of conformist reality, it is a repression algorithm. And even within all of these fucking spiritual circles, maybe Osho was an exception. Maybe that was an exception. But in most of all of these spiritual circles, this enlightenment dance as some kind of deliverance from all of this repression is another form of repression. It becomes another form of repression. It becomes another form of envy and angst and becoming. It's so sad. And Osho's thing didn't work out so well either. I mean, everybody was fucking everybody. One day you had a neck massage. The next minute you were like, in an orgy of some kind. Whether that was in Pune or obviously when things got exciting in Oregon. There was enough juice there. I mean, Osho was so hypnotic and so powerful in his own right that he was able to attract tons and tons of creative, powerful humans that created a city out in the middle of fucking Oregon that became larger and, financially had a greater, GDP or GNP than
the city
that they were, that the city then they invaded.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fascinating. And with the Rolls Royces, and the whole shebang.
Yeah, he was a little over the top.
But that was a kind of another curious experiment, another kind of exploitation, right? Another kind of indulgence.
We'll have to be careful not to go that far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to be real careful. I mean,
We'll
'cause
have
I'm
to toe the line.
so close to that.
Yeah.
It'll be hard.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know. So we're up against some, you could call them somewhat formidable forces that few people are even conscious of or can articulate or are willing to learn about or study.
Oh, that's for sure.
To look at the fascinating inculcation or inoculation of an otherwise very playful species like our dolphin friends that became zoo tycoon, dwelling in repression and exploitation. And even most of these spiritual circles, kind of repeat that, unfortunately, but okay.
Form of repression.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah. So you have to figure out, we're not, I don't know how to chill out. I mean, it's an incredible challenge to see if you can find a way to feast, literally feast, on your own present experience without accoutrement. Calling that enlightenment seems so foolish. Or coming up with biographical references to when, you were released from seeking. Just, sounds like blowing chunks. It's got to be something cooler than that. Because that's just not cool anymore. Well, at least, from a point of view, it's not cool anymore to go all biographical on your so-called enlightenment experiences, and then become a celebrity or exploit people, through their vulnerability and angst, take their money and make promises to them. Give me a break. Come on. Oh, well. And few people are, interested in, call it kind of an intimacy that gets created when we're not exploiting each other. Because we're not exploiting each other. Fuck.
Don't know what to do.
We don't know what to do. Right? If we're not exploiting each other.
Or just at least hanging out in that gossip field.
Or hanging out in the
Gossiping
gossip
about
field.
Me, or I'm gossiping about other people.
Or
we're
telling-
talking about something
Yes.
in the gossip field.
Telling biographical stories or making or staking claims on our own experience or what enlightenment is or isn't. We get really uncomfortable. And that's fun to play with, because this is, if it's anything, it's crushingly intimate. But not between persons necessarily, right? It's intimate as a waveform.
Yeah, right, yeah. It's just intimacy.
Yes. Yeah.
It's dense.
Dense with intimacy, dense with that kind of profundity, dense with, you could say, care and affection. That is, transcends the storyline of the malnourished person. Our intimacy is really joyful and playful. And it doesn't have to be demonstrative. It's remarkable how potent it is just being chill and still. Wow. And I don't hear this invitation to intimacy coming from the bozo fuckers that end up on those interview programs.
I don't know where I hear it other than here. There must be somewhere,
There must be some-
right? I mean, there must be something.
This can't be that special. But that's really what we're doing. We're engaging in an egalitarian quality or adventure, shamanic enterprise of absolute intimacy, which has nothing to do with biographical one-upmanship.
But people will see it as danger. I mean, they
Well,
see
clearly they're not flocking.
danger written all over it,
Well, that's
And
their,
it is dangerous.
they're right. It is.
They're right.
It is. Danger is written all over it. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be willing to discover what it might feel like to rid yourself of exploitation, rid yourself of defensiveness and accusation, like our dear enlightened friend Gary. To take it on the chin and reply with affection without challenge or wound. Just take it on the chin and love anyway. See if you can cultivate that instead of slides and fucking silly little spiritual exercises and
The ranking of enlightenment to
ranking of enlightenment.
sexual experience and psychedelics.
Yeah.
Really? They were on equal footing,
No,
is that
no,
what you're
no.
saying?
No, the enlightenment is
It was
10.
higher.
Well,
Yeah.
they're still really.
Sexual is, I think, 8, and psychedelics is 9 or something like that.
Enlightenment.
I like to combine all three with as
Yeah.
many people as
Yeah, you get
possible.
27.
Is there a buffet in town?
Let's go for it. Oh, God.
Get some enlightened people, take some
Really?
psychedelics, and have an orgasm.
Gobble some mushrooms,
There you go, man.
do a little reach around and then wake up.
Co-ed, we'll do a little coding.
Yeah, truly. Let's do an enlightenment intensive. No, let's not.
No, let's not.
Let's not do that. Let's just not do that. Like, as in ever again.
It seems like that's so like person land. Like
Yeah.
like that is very much a sort of like we evolved from apes and we're like higher primitive or higher, primates, and so these are our accomplishments. And in those terms, it might look really great, but in terms of like transcendental bliss field, that's actually is. It's like the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, it's more grasping than anything.
It's just so funny.
Jamie, are you saying you didn't enjoy your Saturday with Gary?
No, I did.
Is it
I
good?
did. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay. I mean, I seem to have a little more
I'm okay.
I seem to have a little more tolerance.
Self-destruct.
I don't expect much from people, and he didn't disappoint in that regard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meaning
you know-
not expecting much.
Yeah, he didn't offer much, so we were good.
You
I
know,
like the way you put that.
you have a certain curiosity, and the curiosity about this whole new thought idea, which is not a new idea at all. I mean,
Not at all new.
you know, that's like but he was so scientific about it. And I just wanted to see where that was all sort of coming from.
Yeah.
But then it degraded into a lot of personal stuff from the audience members. And
That's Clearwater, baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
geez.
That's
oh,
the
man.
entire human race.
Yeah.
So there was
Fucking
Giant
humans.
baby syndrome
a
is
certain
very,
amount of
Yeah.
very prevalent.
catharsis and
King baby, yeah.
Oh, king
all those
baby,
kinds
oh my
of
God.
psychological terms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, and it doesn't. King baby syndrome spreads across
King
every
baby?
race, I mean, the richest
King
of the
baby.
rich and the poor of the poor.
I haven't heard that.
So clearly, it has no you know what I mean. You can't win king babies. Even if you get a lot of money and everything's going your way,
No,
still
you're gonna
king baby syndrome is there.
you're gonna suck for the long haul.
Yeah, it's just funny.
We're gonna take some Aussie plates home. Have a ridiculous amount of
Yeah,
them.
those are really good.
Wrap
You
up
should
as
have
many
one
as
of
you
those,
want.
Jeff. They look like they would be healthy.